Hi everyone, Evie here, the Greek Goddess of Great Reading. Oh, I really need to do my roots. Gotta get my hair done. So I've had a busy day. I went to community day at the Cineplex this morning and I saw Pitch Perfect with my friend Marissa Pratt. Could she be related to Chris Pratt? Why didn't I ask her this? And then I got my nails done, so that's awesome. Yay, I have pretty nails again. But I finished this next book that I'm going to review pretty quickly, and I will be reviewing Monument 14, Savage Drift by Emmy Laybourne. Dean, Alex, and the other survivors of the Monument 14 have escaped the disaster zone and made it to the safety of a Canadian refugee camp. Some of the kids have even been reunited with their families and are making tentative plans for the future. Then, Niko learns that his lost love, Josie, has survived. For Josie, separated from the group and presumed dead, life has gone from bad to worse. Trapped in a terrible prison camp with other exposed O's and traumatized by her experiences, she has given up all hope of rescue. Meanwhile, scared by the government's unusual interest in her pregnancy, Astrid, along with her two protectors, Dean and Jake, flee the camp to join Niko on his desperate quest to be reunited with Josie. They've already survived the unthinkable, but can they do so one last time? So just so everyone knows, this book is a final book in a trilogy. So if you haven't read the first two books, which are Monument 14 and Monument 14 Sky on Fire, don't watch this video because I will be talking about what happens in that book. I love the post-apocalyptic type scenario in this book. This is what got me kind of hooked to post-apocalyptic novels in the first place, because I have been reading lots of post-apocalyptic books after, like I read The Maze Runner, The Hunger Games, and this one was just a really good scenario too. It's not terribly far into the future, but it's almost like the end of the world is coming with what happens. So what did happen in the first book was that this huge tsunami occurred that pretty much created all these terrible weather patterns. There was hail, which ended up making a leak caused at government-owned place that had these chemical compounds in it, and these chemical compounds were released into the atmosphere in North America. Now these chemical compounds have an effect on people depending on their blood type. So I'm not too sure about all of them, but I know what they all do. I just can't remember which blood type is which. I know that A and B, one of them is that you become infertile. So it's not terrible, but it's not great either, obviously. I think type B is that you blister up so much that you kind of explode into a whole bunch of blood. So that one's just awful to witness. And type AB, I think they become kind of paranoid and like really paranoid. They don't trust anybody and start acting really irrationally and almost violent. And type O blood is the worst kind, and this is why it kind of reminds me of post-apocalyptic, because it's almost like a zombie apocalypse when the O types get exposed to the compounds. O types go extremely violent without any thought of who they're hurting, why they're hurting them. It could be a mother harming her child, and she would have no idea that she was doing that. So that's what happened. And these compounds, even in Savage Drift, are still affecting the atmosphere in North America, so they're very dangerous. In this book, there is the character of Maria, who we met in the Sky on Fire book, the second novel, who helps Niko and Alex and the kids escape from this pit they were in the ground and bring them into his house for some food and medical attention. And he ends up finding Josie, we found out at the end of the second book, and he's in this book, and he's kind of taken a liking to Josie because he needs something to sort of live for now, because his wife has died from the chemical warfare compounds that happened, and he wants to help Josie find her friends again. So he follows Josie to this O-type imprisonment camp that these other kids kind of cling to Josie and cling to Mario, so Mario decides to foster all of them. He's not affected by any blood type. I think he might be the one that just goes infertile or maybe paranoid, because it's not obvious that he has been affected as much as someone who might be an O type. So he decides to take care of Josie and all these other kids. So he's a really good-hearted man, even though he's a bit grumpy at times. He's a really good-hearted man. On the opposite spectrum of that, in this story, we have sort of a prison guard who's like the head guard. His name is Venger. I think that's how you say it. Venger or Venger. But it's like he has bone to pick with Josie, and he's always trying to cause and stir up shit with Josie, and he's always trying to get her mad to try and like lash out at him so he has a reason to send her away for government testing. And he's always threatening her with that, threatening her with other things and all these terrible things. And it's just weird but interesting to see the comparison between those two men, Mario versus Venger, and the good versus evil of those two. Venger is supposed to be guard at this prison, who you would assume is there to kind of protect everyone and make sure no one gets into fights and stuff like that, but he's almost promoting that to an excess. And Mario is just a man who had misfortune come upon him by his wife dying suddenly, and he's decided out of his own kindness to just take care of these kids that he barely knows. So it's really interesting to see the two next to each other and what happens to the two of them, and if justice was served. I think you'll find that justice gets served for Venger. So Josie's point of view gets introduced in this book because she's split off from everyone else. This book is told from a first-person perspective, and it was Dean and Alex. Dean all in the first book, and then between Dean and Alex in the second book. Now in this one, it's between Dean and Josie. It's interesting to see her point of view and what's going on in her head after she killed those people in the second book and how she's feeling about all of it. And it's not the greatest feelings that are going through her mind, but it's really powerful for the reader to understand what's going on in her life and in her mind. And I know this is kind of not important, it's just something that kind of surprised me. Because on the cover of Monument 14, there's a whole bunch of the kids standing outside looking at like the bad stuff that's happening on the roof of the Greenway grocery store that they're in. And I don't remember noticing a black girl there, but apparently Josie's black, and that doesn't matter at all. It's just I didn't realize that she was. And I guess in a way that's a good thing, because maybe Emmy Laybourne didn't really want to bring that, like, it's not a big deal. Like, oh, I have a black character, look at me, I have a staple black character. It doesn't matter. She's just a person. And I think that's good that it wasn't overexposed and, like, just sort of trumpeted for Miss Laybourne's benefit of having a diverse character in a book, but at the same time, I think you should promote those diverse characters in books, not overly, but you should make readers aware that they exist and that they are there, because I think it's really important to have diverse characters in books, diverse genders, diverse races, diverse sexual orientations, everything, diverse religions, and I do think that they should make more of a, not a statement, but just more of a presence. So there's kind of a weird love triangle happening between Dean, Astrid, and Jake. And I'm not a big fan of the love triangle. And Astrid didn't seem like she was really picking either or. She is Dean's girlfriend at this point in the book, but the baby she is having is Jake's baby. So that's a complicated relationship right there. And I didn't really like how Dean was acting really jealous towards Jake all the time, but Astrid she just doesn't want anyone to be separated. She cares about everyone in their group that has survived everything that they have gone through, and she just cares about Jake despite not being in love with him anymore, and Dean doesn't seem to get that. And it's hard because sometimes when your heart's not really torn between two people, but she cares about both of them, and she doesn't want either of them to leave, to be out of her life. And I get that. So Dean just needs to calm down and realize that this isn't some trivial high school drama. It's real life now, because they've been through so much stuff and they just don't want anyone to leave. Astrid doesn't want anyone to leave because she doesn't know what's going to happen to them. Like if he'll die or what, and she doesn't want that. She wants him safe. And Dean needs to get that. Overall though, I love this book and I love this series, and I highly recommend that if you guys like dynamic group stories, post-apocalyptic stories, almost zombie type stories, government conspiracy stories even. You guys should really pick up this series, Monument 14 series, and get on it because it is a great series. I did finish this book about a week ago or so, and I started a new book and I already finished it. So the next book I'm going to be reviewing is 5 to 1 by Holly Bodger pretty soon. Sorry that I didn't really give you guys a chance to keep up with me, but I'll let you know what next book I'm reading. So the next book I'll be reading is A Conspiracy of Blood and Smoke by Anne Blankman. This is the second book in this series, so if you want to start it and you haven't yet, I recommend you pick up it's the first book. I recommend you pick up A Prisoner of Night and Fog, which is the first book in this series. Also guys, go see this movie in theaters. It's going to be awesome. I didn't even really know what this movie was about, but today at Community Day, they were giving out free posters, so I took one and it really looks awesome. Girl power. Don't forget my Twitter and my website are linked in the bio below. If you guys like what you see and want to see more videos by me, make sure you hit subscribe. I'm Emmy, the Greek goddess of great reading, and until next time guys, keep on reading.